Hebrews 11, verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed and went out, not knowing whither he went. Of note is the report of his obedience. It says he was called, he went out. He was told something, he did something. That's good. But now if we investigate this, we'll find he partly obeyed. He's just like us. He didn't do it exactly according to orders. In Genesis 12, we find the account. Genesis 12. Once you find that, I'll have you go to the other side of the Bible. Genesis 12. Hold your place there. I'll come back. But first we'll get the New Testament, another New Testament report on it. Acts 7, verse 2. Stephen. Acts 7, verse 2. Stephen goes back through and he gives them the whole account of their history, the Jews. Verse 2. He said, Men, brethren, and fathers, hearken, the God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he came to Haran, which is another way of saying Haran. Genesis 12. Now you've got a timetable of his movements. So when God spoke to him, he was obviously in Ur of the Chaldees, or moving to Mesopotamia or Haran. Genesis 12, verse 1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, I keep calling him Abraham. Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. What's he supposed to do? Leave everything. Where's he going? To a land. Okay? This is interesting because that's not the report we've gotten in Hebrews. In Hebrews, he's looking for a country and a city. Here, God doesn't mention anything about a country and a city. He says a land. He says, get away from everything that is familiar to you. Don't bring the family. Leave them behind. When he was in Ur, God appeared. That's south of Babylon down there. He went to Haran. That would be west of Nineveh. It's a big arch, the Fertile Crescent. You make that arch coming up before you head back down to Israel. He went to Haran, and that's where he had his family with him. And we'll find Genesis 11, verse 39. Here's the crew. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. They went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran and dwelt there. So the whole crew came with him, the whole family. He obviously, it looks like he told his dad, hey, God's told me to get out and get going, and he's going to give us a land. And Dad said, that sounds like a good plan. Let's pack up and go. But that's not what God said. God said, leave Dad. Leave the whole family. So he was obedient in the broad scope of things, but not exactly. Lot goes with him in 12:4. And Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So still a young man. In his lifespan, that's still pretty young. But in verse 1, he said, no country, no kindred, no father's house. And he's bringing it all with him. Now, Dad's going to die. Dad has to be left. He's left in a grave in Haran. However, Lot comes on down. Lot, his crew, and all of them, they're going to be a caravan. The country there he said, get away from your country. That'd be Mesopotamia. in the region of Babylon. He said, get away from your kindred. That include Lot, distant kin. Father's house, that'd be your father and your mother. I mean, it's pretty plain. He gave him specific instruction, but Abram didn't obey completely. We'll find something interesting. In the New Testament, God usually, unless there's a special reason for it, he does not recount the sins of the Old Testament saints if they're heroes. God's grading on a curve. He does this thing where he's seeing the whole lifetime of a person, not just one specific up close and personal view of them like we see. We're finite, so we might know somebody, our lifetime might be a long time if we live to be 70 or 80. And so we see somebody mess up for 10 years and we think that's a long time. God looks at it and says, that's a blip in the scale. Romans 4, verse 5. Yes. Romans 4, verse 5. Obviously, Abraham loved God, believed God. He just had a few little hang-ups like we all do. He says, but to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly. His faith is, what's the next word? Counted. Doesn't mean it is this. It's counted as though it is. It's counted for righteousness. That's the way God's viewing it. Okay, he did something spectacular. If he did this one thing I asked of him that I knew was pushing the bounds for him, I will go ahead and give him other credit for things he did not do. And that's what he's done with all of us. We didn't do anything for salvation. We got this right here, imputed righteousness. Something accrued to us that we didn't earn. We've seen already about Noah. God didn't tell us anything about Noah getting drunk in Hebrews. Although he did. And that was bad news. And there's a lot of other bad things that happened in that scenario. And we didn't read about them. We're not going to read about David's problem with Bathsheba. Although that was bad. God didn't recount that here. He's telling you about the good stuff, the stuff that overcomes. We're told to redeem the time. This is part of redeeming. Redeem doesn't mean buy new. People view it that way. Redeem means buy back old. So if you'll do righteousness today, that righteousness is buying back some wasted time. That's redeeming. God, of course, knows how to grade things in a way that humans wouldn't understand. And that's good because we see his heart and we see his mind in these accounts that he's given here. So that gives us hope. Otherwise, we'd get to the judgment and we would just be a total mess. You have hope. When we get to the judgment, I don't believe this judgment thing is going to be this hair-stricken thing everybody's making it out to be. This is the bride he's about to marry. You think he's going to beat her to a pulp before he marries her? I don't think so. It'd be bad enough to see the things you could have had that go up in flames. That in and of itself is your own punishment because that's what you did. And then the good things that come out are great. That's what he did. You can have them right back. Hebrews 11, verse 9. I didn't give you the last part of verse 8. It says, he went out not knowing whither he went. That's faith. It's not faith if you got all the facts. It's your wisdom if you have all the facts. But if you don't really know everything and you're just following the simple instruction you've been given, what we say all the time is, you get daily instruction from God. That's the way he guides, with light for your feet, not a whole floodlight for the street. Hebrews 11, verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise. Now, isn't that what he was told? He's going to get a land And it was promised, a land of promise, as in a strange country. Well, if it was promised to him, why is it strange? Dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Promise. Now you're in Genesis still somewhere. You probably got a finger there. Genesis 12, look at verse 5. And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance, and they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. Obviously, this is the land that he's going to get. Now, notice this next phrase. I think it's great every time I read it. And into the land of Canaan, they came. Not they went. That means God's already in the land. It shows you a point of view. If God is following the story as he moves, he would say, then they went to Canaan. And God's sitting in the spot that he likes over there in Canaan, and he's watching the story unfold. And he says, I'm moving them this way, and I'm moving them this way. And finally, they're moving into Canaan, and into Canaan they come, from his point of view. Hebrews 11, verse 13. We'd look at that and we'd say, good, he got what he was promised. But not so. Hebrews 11:13. These all died in faith, having not received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims, not in the land now, it's on the earth. Wherever they go, they're a stranger and a pilgrim. That's a good description of a Christian. Some of them are stranger than others. Hebrews 11, look at verse 16. But now they desire a better country. Where did country come from? They weren't promised a country. We're not ever told he was seeking a country. When we read in chapter 12, country, the word country doesn't show up. The word city doesn't show up. That is in heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. Didn't tell them anything about it, but he did it. Obviously, the city's got to be, as he said in our verse, heavenly. They knew they were on a mission, and they didn't have all the pieces to the puzzle yet. What they were really after was heaven, and they didn't know it. But it's a heaven that comes to earth. That's the way it seems that we live our life. God will give us the light for the next step. We'll take that step and we'll say, this is heading somewhere. I'm not really sure where. That's them right here. They're saying, God's told us to move, and I don't think this is where we're supposed to stay. Let's pack up and do it again. And you see them move all over. This is what they're doing. They're looking for something a little better, even though God said it's all yours. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise. He wasn't content with that, because God doesn't give contentment until the mission is finished. And ours is not finished on this side. He found the promised land, but he knew something's missing. The something that was missing was something he hadn't been told about. It was a prepared city. There's no good cities in the Bible up to the time of Abraham. He wouldn't have been searching for a city. That'd be the last thing on his mind. You know where a city comes up in the Bible? Before this, you've got Genesis 11. They're building the city. That's the land of Shinar. That's where he came from, Babylon. That ain't good. The next city that's prominent in the Bible is where Lot goes. Sodom and Gomorrah. There's your city living. Wasn't good. Cities are not good. Actually, the first cities are what Cain built. Cain's descendants headed out, and they built a city. east of Eden in the land of Nod. I think that's where it was. Yeah. Those are bad things, but there's a good one. Just because the world jumps the gun and produces a phony does not mean God can't do the right thing. It seems like the devil always comes out first with the fake. When the children of Israel go through the tribulation, the Antichrist is going to show up and proclaim himself to be the Messiah. He's going to sit down in the tabernacle and show himself that he's God. What the people are going to see, he's going to say, I am God. The thing they've been looking for and are still looking for right now. The phony first, then the real will show up. Take care of the phony. Now God told him to get out and get away from the family, and he said, no, I don't think so. In Genesis 12:5, he comes into the land. And that seems like that's the answer to what God has promised him so far. Verse 7, and the Lord appeared unto Abram, and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there he builded. If he was looking for a city, he would have built a city. There he built an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. Okay, so he's got to get this land thing. God says you can have this land. Obviously, the land is bigger than the stop he had just made, so he had to keep moving. Hebrews 11, look at verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise. That's what we've just seen. God told him, I've given you this land. So why is he sojourning in a land that belongs to him? A sojourner is someone who's on a journey. If you've reached the destination and it belongs to you, it's no longer a journey, it's yours. So there's some things here that he's not getting all the picture yet. And it talks about the patriarchs do the same thing with it. Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14, verse 29. He says, Isaiah 14:29, rejoice not thou, O Palestinian. Now, you'll find this to be so. People want to tell you there's no such thing as Palestine. There it is right there in the Bible. That's Palestine. That's the word for Palestine. It's pagan. When God's people are not there, it's Palestine. When God's people are present, it's his land, Canaan. Because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. That is, just because you've gotten a little bit of reprieve, don't be getting all excited about that. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. And I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant. Sounds like he's giving them a prophecy of something, isn't it? It's a tribulation, remnant. 31. Howl, O gates, cry, O city, thou whole Palestinia art dissolved, for thou shalt come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall one answer, the messenger of the nation? That the Lord hath founded Zion. Now there's the city. The poor of his people shall trust in, what's this? It. What are they trusting in? The city. This is the place in the Old Testament where he says, I'm going to find me a place. I'm going to choose to put my name there, and that's where you'll come worship. There's something special about Jerusalem. Something special about Israel, but something special in particular about the city, Jerusalem. He says the people are going to be able to trust in Jerusalem. What's it called? Now, we always try to spiritualize it. There is a heavenly Jerusalem, but there's a earthly one as well that was given to a earthly people, the Jews. And that's where God met with them. Uh, Beautiful for situation is Mount Zion, city of the great king. Okay, well, you take it two meanings, both physically on earth and the heavenly one. In Hebrews 13, verse 14. Here's the answer for the thing they're seeking for, this city, this country, this land. Verse 13. He said in chapter 11, they all sought for it and they couldn't find it. For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. There it is. They're going to get everything they were hoping for. Eventually, that'll be millennium. When Jerusalem comes down, when Jerusalem is inhabited by Jesus Christ, that's Hebrews 13:14. Look back at Hebrews 11, verse 10. Hebrews 11:10. Now I'm going to take it easy on you and just show you one letter. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, plural, not singular. You know how most people would talk about a foundation as singular, the foundation of a house. The city's founded on this. He says over there when they came in from Jericho, about when they destroyed Jericho, what of the person that builds Jericho, he'll build it on his son. That was the prophecy. Yeah. So that's making a foundation for something. Here he says foundations, plural, whose builder and maker is God. No wonder he couldn't find it. Every city he shows up in, he says, "Ooh, this is definitely, God didn't build this mess." So that's what he's looking for. And he's looking for a city that's got multiple foundations, not one. So obviously, the one he's looking for, it's physical, it's a real one, but it hasn't showed up yet. It's still future. Look at Revelation 21. Revelation 21, verse 2. He says, "And I, John, saw the holy city." There's a city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Now there's a city. Remember, he was looking for a city, or we've been told he was looking for a city. He didn't know it, but he was. Hebrews 12, look at verse 22. Hebrews 12, verse 22. While they can't find it physically, they can find it spiritually. That's what they're told here. Hebrews 12:22. But you're coming to Mount Zion and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. Because it hasn't landed yet until Revelation 21, but spiritually you can go there now. And to an innumerable company of angels. Obviously, that's not on earth. To the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to the God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect. Now that wording I'm not going to get into. We'll get it when we go over that chapter. But the spirits of just men made perfect. That's not church age vocabulary. Revelation 21, let's find this city again. Revelation 21, verse 14. We're going to notice the singular and plural. And the wall, how many is that? One. The wall of the city, singular, had what he was looking for. 12 foundations, plural. and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Well, if the apostles have their names on the foundation, obviously Abraham wouldn't have been able to find it. They hadn't been born yet. It's still future. You know how prophetic everything was in the Old Testament, and they didn't realize it? I think about Moses and him smiting the rock twice. That seemed like such a minor thing. The thing I would have had a problem with was he killed somebody. He killed an Egyptian and then hit him in the sand. Pharaoh had a problem with that. I would have had a problem with that. But that's not what God had a problem with. What God had a real problem with and said, your ministry's up, is when he smote a rock. And it worked. That's how you destroyed a picture. This is prophecy. Revelation 21, look at verse 19. And the foundations of the wall of the city. There's the foundations coming up again. Hebrews 11, look at verse 3. He says, through faith, that's what it's all been about. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God. Okay, so he's telling you we understand what we can't prove. We have to have faith in this. That God did this. He framed, like a builder, framer. He framed the world by God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. That is, faith tells you there's something behind this something I'm seeing that I can't see that makes what I can see something I can see. The real is not what's physical. The real is what is behind the physical. For instance, you and I, you look at a person and you think that's a person. But what you can't see is what makes that person a person. We can't, with the naked eye, see the molecules and the nucleus and all that stuff that's making the body have the form it has. The unseen is the real. The thing we're seeing is just a picture, an evidence that the unseen is working. Because that's how you understand this world. Romans 8, verse 24. Now we have to apply that spiritually in any age, especially our age. Romans 8, verse 24. For we are saved by hope. What is hope? Hope is faith. Hope is believing in something that has not happened yet. Otherwise, it's not hope and it's not faith. But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why does he yet hopeful? So that's the way our life's going to be. Our life's going to be, God's going to give you hope. He's going to give you ideas. And just like he did with Abraham, he's going to fulfill a lot of things. And he's going to do miracles all along the way. But Abraham, wandering through there for over 100 years, said, I never did find that thing I was looking for. It is not seen. He wants to continue the faith and the hope. Look down at verse 25. But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Now that's the kind of hope we have. We have a kind of hope that is not flimsy. The world's hope gives up when they can't get gratification. Not God's hope. God's hope is this will happen. For instance, his return. I hoped it would have happened this morning. But my hope is not dashed because it didn't. It's simply giving me patience to wait for tomorrow morning. Look at it in 2 Corinthians 4. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 18. While we look not at the things which are seen. You really? We shouldn't. Here's Paul. He's this super spiritual fellow that gets everything right, and we don't. And he's talking as though we get it all right. He says, well, we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. But the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Had God flipped the switch and showed Abraham Jerusalem, Mount Moriah, is the city I'm talking about, it wouldn't have been the completion, because it was not the way it's going to be one day. There weren't any foundations there at that time when he offers Isaac. He says the things that are seen are temporal. You know how many times it went down before it became a city in David's day or Solomon's day? The Jebusites come in there and take it at some point. So he couldn't have seen it. If he had seen it, it wouldn't have been the real thing that's eternal. It would have been just the temporary. So what's physical, what we can see, what we can understand, hold on to loosely. It's probably temporal. If you can see it and understand it all, probably not the full story. Look at chapter 5, next chapter over, 2 Corinthians 5, verse 7. For we walk by faith, not by sight. Now, he's obviously talking spiritually. If you're walking physically, you better use your sight. I think this is the way people drive in Pensacola. They drive by faith, not by sight. Hebrews 12, verse 3. Here's a practical explanation of how you walk by faith and not by sight. Hebrews 12:3. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be weary and faint in your minds. This is how you hold on to hope. This is how you hold on strong in faith. As he says, you consider him that's already been down the road and come out successful. That's Jesus Christ. All right, that's as far as we can go tonight, and we'll pick up there next week.